I'm the fix that fixes it all. Welcome to my world. Welcome to Brick Roberts' world.
Brick Roberts coming at you live from Brick Roberts' world. Today I wanted to have a little discussion with you folks about the subject of tipping. A little history lesson from Brick Roberts. Tipping actually started in England around the 17th century, and American tourists and vacationists decided to bring this thing back with them. So sometime after the Civil War, we started tipping in this country. But speaking of countries, if you plan on going to Japan, do not tip them in Japan because they will take it as an insult. Now, a little more factual information. Studies have shown that big-breasted, slender, blonde waitresses actually make more tips than the opposition. And here's a tip for you waitresses: if you want to make more tips, wear red. Studies have also shown that most people actually tip out of guilt rather than actual gratitude. And studies have also continued on to show us that we get better service in establishments that have banished and eliminated tips for some odd reason. Now, I don't know how you guys feel, but everywhere Brick goes, the Chinese restaurant, the Starbucks, there's tip jars out here. There's tip jars, and Bricks is starting to feel a little bit guilty about not leaving those tips in there. Hence the fact that most people tip out of guilt because they feel like a jerk if they don't stick their money into these containers. So who do we tip? Why do we tip some people? And why do we not tip others? I wanted to do a Doobie Brothers and take it to the street, so I did, and I asked a few people what their opinions on tipping is, and here is what I got. Brick Roberts live coming at you on a subject of tipping, and I would like to ask this gentleman, this is Kevin Soper, what his views on tipping are. As far as who do we tip, who do we not tip, these tipping jars at the Starbucks, these restaurants, the delivery guys. Are you a good tipper, Kevin?
I'm a phenomenal tipper, actually. I take care of the tipping community, yes.
And who do you tip?
I tip waitresses, bartenders. I'll tip
Bartenders.
I tip strippers.
Okay, strippers.
Yeah,
there you go, strippers. Strippers
huge.
need tips.
Tip your strippers, that's right.
Tip your strippers.
Your strippers, that's right. But I mean, that's about where I draw the line. If I go to Starbucks, or Dunkin' Donuts, something like that, I don't tip those people, man. They're doing their jobs,
Brick agrees with this, man.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Just a brief view from one of our audience members here on his view of tipping. We're with another gentleman, Steve Remsing, and I'm going to ask him the same question. Steve, what are your views on tipping? Who do we tip? Who do we not tip? We have tip jars in restaurants, at Starbucks. We got delivery guys. What are your views on tipping, Steve?
Anyone who works, part of their income is tipping, whether their service, as long as their service is good enough, feel free to over-tip. I think 20% at a restaurant is very simple. If on a ride, a Lyft ride, Uber, whatever, you like the way they're doing it, certainly the regular fee applies, give them a tip. They won't forget it, it'll make a difference.
Thanks for your time, Steve. You guys know in today's economy, most families have a mother and a father, or a husband and a wife both working. Some of them work 2 jobs. It's crazy. Everybody's trying to make some money out here. The question that comes to Brick's mind is, who do we tip? And Brick's feelings on this are such. And I'm gonna use Starbucks as an example because the folks at Starbucks, they do no more than the people at McDonald's, yet they have a tip jar out there, and they actually get paid better wages than these people at McDonald's. And why should I tip the people at Starbucks and not tip the people at McDonald's? So who do I think we should tip? Well, I'm going to start with waitresses, number one. And the reason is most of these women, or a lot of them I should say, at least in the past, are single moms trying to raise kids making a decent wage. And like a lot of people, they work for employers who basically depend on tips to compensate the wages, so they pay them less wages depending and expecting their employees to get tipped to make up for the difference. These waitresses come and serve you while you're on your lazy asses because you didn't feel like cooking for yourself. 15% across the board. But if you're like Brick, you actually monitor their value and their service, and depending on that, I might take a little away from the 15% or I might add a little to it. Movers, on the other hand, as well, I feel deserve to be tipped. They do ball-busting work, and the only reason they're moving your stuff is because you're too lazy to do it yourself. Pizza deliveries, these people drive through obscene amounts of weather, put wear and tear on their car, and if they're late to your house, it probably isn't their fault. It's probably those slow people that work in the kitchen. And the only reason they're delivering to your house in the first place is because you're too lazy to either cook for yourself or get up off the couch and go pick up your food. So this goes out to you. This goes out to you, Mr. Lazy, Mr. Greed. Either get up off your ass and start doing things for yourself, or reach a little deeper into your pockets and stop being such a cheapskate and start taking care of those who take care of you. You know, they say that it tells a lot about one's character how they treat those who serve them. And there is no power, Brick says, no power in treating people badly. All treating people badly and meanly is a lack of control in your own life and a lack or a deep seed of hatred for yourself and towards yourself. Think about that. I'd like to get your guys' views on tipping. Leave a comment below, subscribe to Brick Roberts World, and stick with Brick.